What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and I wanted to talk to you about something that I thought was really interesting that it appears here in the D&D 5e 24, or however you want to refer to it, book, and that is on page 39 and 40 of the Player's Handbook, and it's that they kept alignment. I was positive one thing that we were going to just ditch and leave behind was the concept of alignment. And if you're unfamiliar with alignment, it's probably because you started playing in 5e, but this is, chaotic, good, lawful, evil, neutral, etc. And in older editions, as I'm sure many of you can attest to, alignment was huge. Like it was a massively important part of your character because it basically hard limited you in some things that you could and could not do. So again, I can only really speak from a third edition perspective, but there were spells you couldn't cast. Like spells would be coded good, or spells would be coded evil, or lawful, or chaotic, or what have you. And if you were a good character, you could not cast evil coded spells unless you had some sort of like convoluted subclass or a prestige class, or it just switched your alignment entirely, or what have you. But mostly you were limited in that, okay, if I'm good, I can only cast good spells, or if I'm lawful, I can't cast chaotic spells, or what have you. So things like that, or the type of spells you could cast, like for example, a cleric, a good aligned cleric could always give up a prepared spell to cast a healing spell, whereas an evil aligned cleric, it would be like I think an inflict wounds a spell or something like that, right? So opposite sides of the coin. And in 5e, there isn't really anything tied to alignment with the exception of a couple of magic items, right? So, for example, there are certain magic items that require attunement from a good character or a non good character. Or, for example, robes of the Archmagi are tied to alignment, right? If it's gray, it's neutral. If it's black, it's evil. If it's white, it's good, or whatever it is. The candle of invocation, if you have the candle and you light it, allies of a similar alignment get benefits. That's really the only place we truly see alignment come into play in existing 2020 or 2014 D&D 5e, is specific items only allow you to use that. Now there are some enemies, I believe it's like Rakshasas take like they're vulnerable to piercing damage from good aligned characters or something like that. But I want to point out that both monsters and magic items are not something we have yet. All we have is this book, meaning all of those alignment specific things we saw for magic items in 2014 might be gone, or there may be a ton more. But I really thought that most kind of RPGs seem to be getting away from this sort of alignment concept because it's very rigid, and to some people it doesn't matter, and sometimes it like allows, like there's a term, many of you have probably heard of it, called lawful stupid, which is where people will go and do stupid things with a character justification because their character is lawful, that's what they would do, like obey the letter of the law to the nth degree just because their character is lawful, when it may even fly in the face of what they built up as their character's whole like shtick. So to see it appear in the D&D 5e 24 book here was a little bit of a shock to me. So page 39 basically just outlines what the alignments are, all 9 of them, right? Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, neutral chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. And then page 40 has like a little image kind of showing the different corners of it. And then it actually has a small little section, which I did think was interesting, showing potentially, and I don't necessarily agree with these, different ways you could have an outlook on a specific alignment. So there's a D4 for each. So it says alignment can shape a character's personality. Look at the 2 elements to decide like how it impacts. So if we were to, I don't have a D4, but we'll just grab some random numbers. So they're saying like chaotic. Now I think a lot of us have an image in our mind of what chaotic means, but what they have listed here is either boastful, impulsive, rebellious, or self absorbed. Now, I guess impulsive is kind of where I typically lean when I would think of chaotic just in my mind. But I don't feel like if you're chaotic, it doesn't mean that you're boastful or self-absorbed. So a lot of these are very interesting. So for example, like lawful, it has cooperative and loyal, which I feel like is what a lot of people kind of lean towards on the lawful side, but also judgmental and methodical. And then like for neutral, we have disinterested, selfish, laconic. So I guess I commend the concept of providing other means of looking at alignment outside of just what people might consider the traditional alignment. I'm sure you've seen tons of alignment charts for your favorite franchise where someone will get like, Marvel characters or the Justice League or whatever it is, and they'll have the 9 squares for alignment and they'll place people in the different squares to say, I don't know, Superman's lawful good or whatever it is. However, they were going to break it down. But yeah, I was a little shocked to see alignment make a return. So, what do you think? At this point, I don't see much in this book. Now, granted, I haven't read it with the, fine tooth comb. I read through the majority of it at this point. But there's probably still little bits here and there that I'm probably missed. But as far as I can tell from the readings that I've done, I don't see anything that says to me that alignment's going to be exceptionally pertinent in the rest of the game. So, what do you think? Do you think alignment will have its place in D&D 5e24 with like the magic items and the monsters? As in, like, you'll have certain things that will let you do more damage to evil or chaotic monsters, or more magic items will have alignment property requirements or prerequisites. Because in my mind, it did really feel like a legacy thing that was just kept here because it's part of D&D history. And in fact, that's actually part of, I thought they were going to get away from it because of the way they've been approaching this book. For example, they have said that chapter 1 in here, we're going to teach you how to play the game before we teach you how to make a character. And in every edition prior, they taught you how to make a character before they taught you how to play the game, which, is what they've always done. And they flat out said the only reason they did that in 2014 is because that's just how they always did it in D&D, is you learned how to make a character and then learn how to play the game. Well, it kind of makes a little bit of sense if you learn how to play the game first, so you can know what the different, like, what an ability check is, what an attribute is, all this kind of stuff before you then roll into making the character, because you're like, oh, okay, perception means X, attack rolls are this, whatever it is. You learn the base mechanics of the game before you decide on the character, so that, like, you have a general concept. And this was kind of showing them breaking the mold of what they've done in the past for just the sake of, because that's how we did it. So I thought for sure alignment would be gone because it very much felt like a holdover from earlier editions that they just brought forward because of the fact that it always was there. But I don't know, maybe alignment is huge in your games. I'll be honest, in my 5th edition games, alignment hasn't really come up at all. I mean, like, some people really want to lean into it, possibly, or maybe it helps people, and this is the only reason why I could see it still being here. Perhaps it helps people envision their character a little bit better if they're thinking of, like, okay, my character is chaotic neutral. What does that mean? My character is neutral evil. What does that mean? And, like, with the exception of running an evil game where characters are all evil incarnate, inherently rather, I don't see the need to have a, like, alignment really in the game. Yeah, good people make evil decisions, and evil people might make good decisions. That's just kind of how this thing goes, which is why hard locking yourself into an alignment almost makes it was a little bit of a shocker to see it in here. Yeah, it says choose your character's alignment from the option table. D&D assumes the characters aren't of an evil alignment. Check with your DM before making an evil character. Yeah, it just doesn't really, it just kind of goes on to talk about how, alignment is determined. It's a combination of two, gives you the general overall look, like a one-line sentence thing, right? Someone who fights injustice and protects the innocent without hesitation is probably lawful good, whereas a scoundrel who wanders the land living by their wits is probably chaotic neutral. does that really truly and help inform your character decision, or like help you envision how your character acts? Maybe it does, and if it does, then I that's justification for it to be here. Otherwise, I feel like it's kind of just legacy, and maybe we should have just kind of put that as like an optional rule in the Dungeon Master Guide. That might have made more sense to me. Is alignment is an optional rule you can play with if you want, whereas it didn't need to be. It's not like it's taking up a large amount of page count here in the player's handbook, but either way, I think you could have let it go. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I'll see you all next time.